Welcome to The Bottom Line, where we examine trending and important news. The government of Guyana, through the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance, held the second round of consultation at the Artichoke Conference Centre to discuss amendments that are being proposed to the Representation of the People's Act and the National Registration Act. These electoral reforms were promised as a result of the 5-month attempt to rig the March 2, 2020 elections in favour of the APNU-AFC coalition.
The call that came from the Guyanese electorate, from the diplomatic community, from 100 governments across the globe, from observer missions who observed those elections, and from various important stakeholder organizations, both nationally and internationally, was for actions to be taken against miscreants, as well as for rehabilitative actions to be taken in respect of the process and the system, meaning the electoral system.
President Dr. Irfan Ali made 3 promises. 1. To launch a police investigation into the allegations of wrongdoing. This has been completed with some 30-odd charges instituted and pending in the magistrate's court. 2. To launch a commission of inquiry into the questionable activities that caused the delay of the election results for a period of 5 months. This commission has been established by His Excellency and work has already begun. And the 3rd promise is electoral reform.
We have made it very clear that these electoral reforms are going to be made in 2 stages. 1, statutory reforms, and 2nd, constitutional reforms. What we are engaged in, or what the engagement at the Artichoke Convention Center was about today, related to statutory reforms, the reforms to the Representation of the People's Act, as well as the National Registration Act. It is already in the public domain that constitutional reform bill has already been laid in the National Assembly and will be debated and passed earlier rather than later, and that bill will establish a constitutional reform commission which will undertake the process of constitutional reform. This commission, as we promised in our manifesto, shall be a broad-based commission comprising of political parties in the National Assembly, 50% and 50% civic or civil society organizations.
Once this commission is appointed, the process of constitutional reform can begin through a public consultative process.
All those organizations who are making all sorts of noise and are criticizing the statutory reform process understand that they have to await the constitutional reform process to have constitutional issues addressed. And we have made that clear on numerous occasions. But these guys keep repeating the same thing. The type of political system that the country has, or the type of electoral system, is a matter for the Constitution. No statutory reform can change that. The way GCOM is composed and the functional responsibility of GCOM are matters for the Constitution. Qualifications to vote and qualifications for registration to vote or registration on the National Register are matters for the Constitution. The way seats are calculated in proportion to votes cast is a matter for the Constitution. No single political party can endeavor to change those constitutional provisions because they all require a minimum of 2/3 majority, which none of the political parties singularly have in the National Assembly.
The constitutional reform process is an exercise that will take time. However, it must be conducted expeditiously. Opposition leader Aubrey Norton on Tuesday could not give any information to support or substantiate a claim of a mysterious electoral poll which he claims shows the main opposition will win the next local government elections. Norton made the claims during his weekly virtual press conference. Some have likened Norton's mysterious poll showing the APNU AFC in the lead to claims by the APNU AFC during the 2020 general and regional elections that their statements of poll showed the coalition had won the elections. While on his program Issues in the News, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anolanda Lal addressed the matter.
In the video, Mr. Norton chooses to speak about a poll. According to Mr. Norton, this poll was commissioned by the People's Progressive Party or the government, and the poll showed that if we are to go to an election, the APNU AFC will beat the PPP soundly at an elections. The reporter asked Mr. Norton, who did the poll? Mr. Norton says he can't reveal it. What are the results of the poll? Mr. Norton says he can't reveal it. Why would you keep the results of a poll that shows that your party will win a secret? Mr. Norton can't answer that question. The reporter asks why anybody would believe you. You are refusing to disclose all this information about this poll. He says if he discloses the information, he will get people in trouble. The reporter asked him, well, if poll says that you will win the elections, and if you seem enthralled and very impressed by this poll, if that is so, of course he can't answer that question. Nope, I don't know any poll that was done. But I don't know which pollster can come to a conclusion. AFC, APNU at this point in time or any time in the near future is likely to beat the PPP at any elections.
The AG shared his thoughts on how Norton concocted these stories.
It's either that he invents these things or he is so gullible that anyone can concoct a lie, irrespective of how outrageous the lie may sound to an objective listener or bystander. He believes the lie. And what is worse, he regurgitates it publicly. And then wants to become abusive to the reporter when the reporter begins to ask questions that a reasonable, prudent reporter would ask in the circumstances. That is what he does to all the reporters. He holds a press conference. He makes disclosures, makes his usual sound bites. They are completely without basis. They do not sound sensible. They are prima facie incredible. Naturally, a probing reporter or a competent reporter would probe. And when they decide to do that, he gets aggressive. He becomes confrontational with the reporters. And any one of his press conference, you would see that approach. He makes a disclosure, but no one was asking questions about it. No one can ask him any questions about what he says at a press conference. I don't know why he keeps a press conference. Why don't you issue a press statement where you say what you want to say in writing, and you don't have to ask nobody have to ask you any questions.
The AG believes the APNU AFC is currently at its lowest because of Norton and his principles. Leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton, has come under fire for again making unsubstantiated statements. In this instance, Minister of Labour Joseph Hamilton rebuffed claims that the government is withholding the subvention to the Mocha Multipurpose Co-op Society.
The Mocha Multipurpose Co-op Society, I don't know the government has, as regards central government, has any relationship regarding a subvention given to them. I'm the Minister of Labour that's responsible for co-op. And the interaction at the level of the government with co-op societies is done by the Chief Co-op Development Officer, which is a statutory position, not a political position, that is governed by laws and procedures. And as far as I know, the government has no relationship as regards transferring subvention to the co-op society. I suspect what Mr. Norton was speaking about, and ignorance is a terrible thing. When you try to fabricate and lie, you even can't do it properly. I suspect that the Vincent Alexander outfit was transferring monies to the Mocha Co-op Society, because in Mr. Alexander articulation, I think he mentioned something about they were funding or sponsoring agricultural development, and they were funding and sponsoring the market day that they normally have at weekend.
Minister Hamilton maintained that the Ministry of Labour, through the Co-op Department, has no authority to transfer funds. The department only supervises co-op societies to ensure transparency and accountability. Minister Hamilton added that the transfer, which came from Ipadaji, was done without any reference to the Co-op Department. This, the minister added, is a breach of the rules and regulations regarding the transfer of funds.
Before a co-op society can access a grant, a loan, a subvention, whatever, the reference point to begin with, it is the co-op department. So again, in their attempt, they are breaching all the rules and regulations as regards the transfer of funds. So that's what. So the opposition leader need to go and edify himself about the issue regarding the Mocha Co-op Multipurpose Society.
Norton also claimed that the withheld subvention is preventing the hosting of a weekly market in the community and an act of discrimination against the predominantly Afro-Guyanese community. However, investigations revealed that the market day was not only funded by Ipadaji, but several government agencies.
Just a couple of weeks ago, the president was in Mocha, followed by the Minister of Agriculture, where we made commitments to Mocha. So this stupidity and this idiocy about discrimination, I'm sure I read the Minister of Agriculture committing acreage of lands to the Mocha farmers for development, and that access, road access, and drainage and irrigation that is coming out of the president's visit, of which they made some recommendations and some requests. So where is this discrimination? We have responded to their needs. I know the Minister of Public Service, she has been in there regularly, executing training programs. I know the Board of Industrial Training that comes under the Ministry of Labour. I have gone there to one graduation. And we have programs that we're discussing, and I think presently there's a program. So the nonsense about discrimination, several government agencies and ministries are engaging the village of Moko as I speak to you.
Aubrey Norton brings nothing to the table, not even for his constituents. This is the view of Minister of Labour, Joseph Hamilton.
He has not come to the government with a program and a plan, or any minister or ministry, to say, this is how I'm recommending we should do X, Y, or Z for any. In Georgetown, which is their constituent, they like to prattle that. Linden, nothing. So it's a useless waste of time. Right now, I would say the opposition leader is being paid under false pretense because he is not. And important for people to know we're listening. The opposition leader is a statutory position, and its functions is prescribed. Well, you check, is he contributing anything to nation building? The answer to that question is no.
In relation to discrimination against perceived APNU AFC supporters, this is what the minister had to say.
The thing is, all of these guys, they chant this because it sounds good to their own ears. And they bring no evidence to the table, right? Let us examine. Yesterday we started a program where the government will sponsor and subsidize home builders, cement and steel. As I understand it from NCN this morning, looking at the program, one of your counterparts saying over 800 persons have already signed up to access that from across all regions. And I didn't know that the qualification was ethnic origin. The qualification, as I know, was a Guyanese who is seeking to build a house. So let us look at, and if you go and look at the 800 and odd persons, it would represent all ethnic groups in this country. Housing program beyond that, whether young professional housing, whether low-income housing, whether whatever type of housing, houseless distribution. Every region is experiencing it, from region 1 to 10.
Which increases the wealth and increase the asset value of every guy.
Well, that's the point. So where is this discrimination? So they just chant this because it is one of the tools, they think, that might be and can be useful to rile up Afro-Guyanese. But I would say this, I'm Afro-Guyanese, and I say this and I repeat, these guys don't speak on my behalf, neither my family behalf, and I know they don't speak for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Guyanese who are Afro-Guyanese in this country.
Guyana has made major progress over the last year to achieve gender equality compared to other countries in the world. This was reflected in the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report 2022. Now ranking 35th globally, Guyana is in second place for CARICOM countries and has also performed better than developed countries like Australia, Italy, and Poland. For Latin America and the Caribbean, the report noted that Guyana is one of the 3 countries that has improved their gender parity scores the most from 2021 to now. More specifically, the Global Gender Gap Index is assessed through examining economic partnerships and opportunity, educational attainment, health and survival, and political empowerment among the genders.
There are many issues we deal with the gender gap. We can, as a nation, improve our legislative architecture, our administrative measures and policies and programs, and still there will be men in our society who will be violent towards women. These are social, psychological problems that societies face. But the figures here give an indication of progress, which is important for us as a people, particularly when you look at areas where we've moved from 105th ranking in economic opportunities to 53. That's a huge leap. Again, that goes back to things of programs we do. The programs looking for creation of jobs, There are programs to do with investments and micro businesses and improving women's access to, say, microfinancing, improving women's participation in the economy. So that I think this is an important issue, that has shown a major leap forward. Certainly when you look at the number of women who are recorded in the informal workforce, it is quite a large amount. But the fact is that they are increasingly improving their status in terms of further access to finances.
There is an industry growing in the opposition camps which is built on misleading the public on issues of national importance, including local government elections. The government of Guyana is committed to upholding of democracy and believes that the holding of local government elections is an important pillar in our democratic political system, according to Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, Nigel Darmlal. This assurance came last week when he announced March 13, 2023 has been appointed as the date for local government elections. Darmlal has since written to Justice Retired Claudette Singh, chairperson of the Guyana Elections Commission, appointing the date based on the work plan submitted by GCOM. In light of this announcement and the reactions from the PNCR-led APNU plus AFC coalition, Vice President Barb Jagdeo said there are many persons who present themselves as specialists but do a lot of that through misinformation, which requires a lot of effort to get to the truth of the matter.
We heard from Katiyu saying they're not going to go to elections. Then we saw Norton was non-committal. He said he will not allow the PPP to control their strongholds, but didn't say whether he would go to elections or not. I predicted long before that, in spite of the rhetoric surrounding the list, that he will go to elections. And then almost immediately today, after Katiyu said they will not go to elections, I saw a statement from AFC. No doubt Ramjatan was called into Congress Place, probably given a bottle of scotch, and he changed his mind and he said they're now non-committal on whether they will go to the elections or not. It's premature to take a definitive position that they would consult with their main partner, the PNC.
Local government elections, which are usually due every 2 years, was held in 2018. At the last local government elections in November 2018, the then People's Progressive Party civic opposition had secured 52 local authority areas. This followed the holding of the LGE in 2016, during which the PPPC also won a majority of the local authority areas. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandalal said that should the Partnership for National Unity plus Alliance for Change not participate in the local government elections, the credibility and the legality of the process would not be affected. Nandalal, during his virtual program Issues in the News, said that the opposition is in its usual confused state as it relates to the participation in the local government elections set for March 13.
Someone asked me, what is the impact of the opposition boycotting the elections? Answer the question by posing another question to the person who asked me the question. I said, if you and I are enrolled to write an examination, and for whatever reason, at the last moment you chose not to turn up, I turned up, wrote the exam, and I passed. The fact that you chose not to turn up obviously can't affect the pass grade that I would have gotten, or affect my grade at all. I believe that simple but simplistic answer clarifies the issue.
Additionally, the Attorney General said the opposition's non-participation will, however, have devastating political consequences if that decision is taken. He went on to say that it is clear that the opposition is afraid of the upcoming elections since there is solid evidence that they might lose by a large margin. Guyanese men have been called upon to confront the issues affecting them by building a strong network to support each other and to hold each other accountable. This urgent call was on Friday evening made by President Dr. Irfan Ali as he addressed the Men on a Mission launch, which forms a part of his 1,000 Men initiative.
Men on Mission will be the foundation to remove violence against women and children. This is not the responsibility for women. This is the responsibility for us to work with each other. We must make the change. We must drive the change. We must lead the movement of respect.
The president took the opportunity to salute hard-working women whom he noted have shouldered many responsibilities on their own. He also called upon other men to applaud their efforts as they work collectively to play their part in molding the future generations.
It is about us picking up back that ball and supporting the women and ensuring that they are given that equal shoulder to take the burden and responsibility of creating a beautiful nation.
President Ali's 1,000 Men program aims to frontally address the challenges faced by men and boys and redirect them to their rightful place in society. The consortium comprises of Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defence Force, Brigadier Godfrey Bress, Commissioner of Police Clifton Hicken, and other senior officers of the discipline services, religious leaders, sportsmen, and other leaders. And that's the bottom line.